Using black gesso and a stencil and watercolor, you can make some really cool looking art in just hardly any time at all. So let me show you how. What I've done here is I have a little piece of smooth finish hot press watercolor, and I taped it to the back of this stencil with this easily removable tape. Now I'm going to get a little bit of the black gesso and kind of pounce it out here so that it's not super juicy, and then I'm going to pounce through my stencil to get my gesso down. This is step one. This is an easy way that you can make a gift for somebody, do something for your art journal, make a greeting card. Who knows what you'll be able to think of, but trust me, it'll make you look way cool as a painter, and I think you'll be pretty gratified with the result. I know that I am every time I do it. All right, so there's our damask background, and I'm gonna let that dry, and then I'll come back and add some watercolor, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so we're dry now, and I've got a couple brushes. I already spritzed my watercolor palette. This is the Core watercolor palette made by Golden. I've spritzed it with some water to get these activated, and I'm gonna just start around here, putting in a little bit of red. Sometimes I go over the black, but you can touch that up later if you so desire. A lot of options with this. So I can just pull that red out, then I can add some yellow into it. This is where you can really play with the watercolor. I love how it moves into, the colors blend into each other with, if you get really wet like this. So pretty. Let's see if we can get a little bit of purple over here. And you know, with watercolor, especially with these cores, you just don't need much because it's got a lot of pigment load with it. Now, you use the yellow and the purple that are opposites on the color wheel, and you're going to get a neutral. However, I like that when I'm using colors to pick up some of the neutrals and blend these into each other, these complementary colors. I really like how that works. And you can see how easy it is to just create a little bit of magic on here, huh? I'm going to go back and get some more intense red in that starting out area. Now, if you get a puddle, like right there, all you need to do is get a little piece of paper towel and kind of sit it right on there, and it'll pull up the extra watercolor. Especially if you think it's gonna dry down in a way that you don't care for or something like that. It's easy enough to just pull it up. If you are a more experienced watercolor painter, you might know some tricks like sprinkling salt on top of the watercolor to get some texture looks or other things. I mean, you can certainly take this in any direction you want, but it's awfully fun to just use a stencil and kind of get some instant success here with a minimum of effort. Ooh, that's dark, isn't it? We need to pull that out with some water. Let me get some of this. There we go. I don't know that much about watercolor, and I consider myself very much a newbie. So for me, it makes me feel great to be able to actually do a little something something with watercolor and make it look kind of nice without necessarily knowing all the tricks of the trade. And black gesso is your friend. I'm getting a little sloppy over here, and I will show you how to clean that up before we finish. Love this orange though, isn't it pretty? So intense, and that red, oh my. You could, of course, develop a color scheme. As you can see, I don't really have one, but you know, some people do that. Actually have a color scheme. I like all the colors. All right, so let's see if there's any other places we want to drop in a little bit more color here. Maybe a little more orange, because, you know, in my book, you can never have too much orange. I don't know what that says about me, but... You could maybe dry this with a hairdryer. I always like to just let it dry naturally. When this dries down, I'm going to show you another quick tip, and then we will call it done. So now this is dry, and I'm going to hold this up, and you can see that I dribbled some water over here. If you want, you could go back with the black gesso and just touch that up. You could even replace the stencil on it and touch it up that way with black gesso. Or you could just grab a black marker, or you could just leave it as is. There's tons of options, but if you grab the black marker, you can go around and really crisp up those lines. It's really just a personal preference thing. How tidy would you like it to be? So just a black marker, black gesso, or nothing, because it looks quite nice. Mount it on another piece of watercolor paper, and you're good to go. You've got a lovely greeting card.